So let's get on to Afghanistan and the withdrawal and all that, because I saw you tweet the other day and I completely agree. Leaders take responsibility. Joe Biden hasn't done that. He has not done that at the border. He hasn't done that in Afghanistan. But I wanted to ask you about whether you should be taking responsibility. Donald Trump should, because it was you two who struck this deal. And I know that you say it was conditions based. You struck it in February 2020. You signed in a withdrawal agreement in Doha, Qatar, with the Taliban co-founder. And it said, we're going to leave Afghanistan in 14 months on May 1st, 2021. And it had conditions that the Taliban was supposed to meet before we would withdraw. They weren't supposed to let Afghanistan become a haven for terrorists. They were supposed to stop attacking U.S. service members. They were supposed to start peace talks with the Afghan government and consider a ceasefire with them. And then we were going to reduce our troops, which we started to do thereafter. But the question is whether at the time, let me start with this, at the time, and thereafter, did you believe that the Taliban was meeting our conditions?
No.
So why did we continue withdrawing our troops while you guys were still in office?
Because we were able to do that. Because we were able to reduce the forces there on the ground, which President Trump had made a deep commitment to executing, right? He campaigned on this his entire time. The American people wanted it. It was, in fact, the right thing to do. And we were able to do that. You know this, Megyn. We'd reduced our force posture in Afghanistan multiple times. We'd increased our force posture multiple times over 20 years. You adjust your forces to meet what you believe are the desired end outcomes so that you can protect America's interests, right? President Trump was always very clear. Mike, I want everybody out. This is no secret. He tweeted it.
Correct.
He wanted our young men and women home.
He wanted that war over.
Yeah, right. He wanted the war over. We were working diligently to achieve that. One of the threads of our strategy was to try and convince the Taliban to sit at the table with their Afghan fellow citizens and try and arm wrestle their way to peace and reconciliation. We knew, Megyn, this is a decade-long process, maybe 5 years if you're lucky. We know the history of Afghanistan. We weren't remotely naive, but we got them to sit at the table. The Bush administration had tried and failed. Everyone had. We got it done. We had women sitting with senior Taliban leaders, NGOs sitting with senior Taliban leaders. We didn't just sign an agreement with the Taliban. I signed one with the Afghan government as well. So the comprehensive effort involved three pieces. One, getting our force posture right. We did that. You talked about the fact we drew down. If you think about the trace of our forces there, the president in June of 17 actually increased the number of uniformed military personnel there. I should be careful. I should always refer to that. Right, uniformed military personnel on the ground went up. We then began to go down from just over 15,000 to 8,600. We stopped, we paused, we evaluated the conditions on the ground. We worked closely with General Miller, who was the commander of forces in Afghanistan, to do that. We then went down to, I think the next step was 4,700, and then ultimately down to 2,800. But each step along the way, Megyn, we evaluated the conditions on the ground. Are they doing the things that we need them to do to secure America's interests, make sure we can get Americans out, make sure that we can ultimately get our equipment out? Are they breaking with al-Qaeda? Will they do the things necessary to reduce risk that we're ever attacked from that place again? The president gave us each of those missions, not just getting everyone out. And so on January 20th of 2021, we were at somewhere around 2,800 uniformed military personnel on the ground. And that was as far as we got because of the conditions on the ground. And Megyn, the last thing to say here is we did that and maintained the force posture to protect America. We had a plan to do that. It was a deterrence model. The Taliban knew we'd quite readily attack them if they attacked an American. So that's why I think they did not do that until the Biden administration came in. Right? We didn't have an American soldier killed from the date you talked about, February 29th, 2020, until we left office. And it wasn't because of the piece of paper. It was because the Taliban knew we were deadly serious. They'd watched our strike on Qasem Soleimani. They'd watched us take down ISIS. And they knew if they moved on a checkpoint, if they moved in a way that was inconsistent with America's interests, we would wreak all kinds of havoc on them. We had to do that a handful of times to communicate clearly to them that we were going to do it. And sadly, when the Biden administration came in, they ripped up that plan, set a political arbitrary end date, September 11, 2021, and you can see the end result.